Goldstein.
Tina, listen to me.
But
Goldstein.
Tina.
what do you want to?
Goldstein?
Miss Goldstein.
Goldstein.
Hey, Goldstein.
Here, Miss Goldstein.
Teeny.
Where is she? Goldstein.
We need to find her.
What I think is the most concerning topic is not what we see in all of the trailers and the posters, but what we don't see. And, I'm far from the first person on this topic, thank God, but where the hell is Tina? Where?
Tell me!
Where do I even start with this? I know that not everyone is a huge fan of Tina Goldstein, but that doesn't subtract from the fact that she is the lead female of the series, or supposedly is the main female character of the series. And I also think she's a very underrated character, which is a whole different video on its own. But when I saw the first trailer, and by the end of it, Tina had literally not been featured for a fraction of a second, I was pretty pissed. So now, instead of being full of ecstatic excitement to go see this movie, I am filled with, half excitement, half, dread that the movie is just going to be terrible, and that, it's going to have turned into some sort of mashed up mess now that Warner Brothers has come in and taken the reins away from J.K. Rowling, which I feel, controversy aside, I feel that, we've already seen what happens when people take the reins away from J.K. Rowling when it comes to how the series progresses. Cursed Child, bit of a dumpster fire. So, we've already seen what happens when she doesn't get to make most of the shots. Things don't really work out well. So I'm very nervous about the fact that Warner Bros. Is now having a lot of say in how the movies come out, because their main concern is that this is a box office hit, which, is valid, but I feel like that could potentially ruin the series. And, we've seen that, it's becoming very Dumbledore heavy, which, I like Dumbledore. I think he's very sketchy, but I still like him. He's not a bad guy, he's just not necessarily as good as some people think he is, which, is probably going to be featured in this movie, which I am looking forward to see. However, it seems like, now, we could be wrong, but it seems like as we go, we're getting more Dumbledore and less Newt and the original gang, which is why, this has been going around that we're going to get more Dumbledore and less Newt and less Tina. This has been going on since pretty much right after Crimes of Grindelwald came out. And I was always like, that can't happen, that won't happen. It's Fantastic Beasts. You can't get rid of the Fantastic Beasts in the Fantastic Beasts. But it's starting to look like they can. If you look at the title pages for all these movies, you got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Dumbledore. Jesus Christ. Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald. Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore. Warner Brothers is thinking, okay, if we give people more of what we already know works, which is people love Dumbledore. Let's give them a shitload of Dumbledore, and it'll be an instant success. Okay. I could go on about this forever. Let's get down to the main topic of this, which is, where is Tina, which is my main question. And besides that, I do miss Johnny Depp, but besides that, if it turns out that everything's fine and Tina is there in the capacity that her character deserves, I no longer have fears for this movie. However, the whole no Tina thing makes me very, very nervous. So, I've gone crazy going through video after article, trying to find what we know as solid fact about where Tina, aka Catherine Waterstein's character, is. And we don't know a whole lot, obviously, because it's, all we have is the trailers and speculation and hearsay. So, I've tried to compile what is fact, what is hearsay, and what is theory. So, I'm going to go over what I found that I can find official, reputable sources for, and things that I can't. That doesn't mean that they're not true, or the people that have presented these as facts are lying, because I might not have found the source they did. But for me, to find a reputable source, you've got to be able to see it in multiple sources. And only having one person say it in a video, or having one person, a couple people circulate it on social media, doesn't mean it's a reputable source. Okay, so hard facts. Well, obviously, Catherine Waterston is not in the trailers whatsoever, with the teeny tiny exception of the trailer released in Japan that was different for some reason. That included a small shot of Tina's picture inside of Newt's case. Touch on that more later. So, other than a picture cameo, Tina is not featured in the trailers whatsoever, nor is she in any of the other promotional material like the posters. We know for sure that she's definitely in the film. However, the main problem is there's no confirmation of what capacity she's in the movie. And, you could consider how little she's represented in the trailers and other advertisements for the movie, evidence that she's in the film in a very low capacity. I said she has a cameo in Newt's suitcase, and I'm afraid that, is she going to be a cameo in this film? And that is just not okay. And finally, I think it's safe to say that for sure it is a fact that she has no scenes with Grindelwald, because I've found sources of an interview with actress Catherine Waterston talking about how she, in some capacity, knows Mads Mikkelsen. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm terrible with pronunciations, I'm sorry. So, in this interview, she says that she has no scenes with him, and I found multiple sources for this, so I think it's safe to say Tina is not going to be interacting with Grindelwald at all. Okay, speculation. So, I've heard... Now, some of these have been presented as fact by different people. Some of these have been stated as speculation. I looked for them as hard as I could. I found some sources for it, but not more than one or two, and none that were reputable, in my opinion. So, these are possible, I guess, some of them more so than others, but I don't think we can take them as fact yet. So this I heard from a YouTube video and a Facebook post, a couple of Facebook posts. saying that she only has 2 scenes in the film. I don't know where they got this idea, and I don't know why that would be released unless it was a leak somewhere, which, is possible, but I found no reference for it whatsoever. It is definitely possible, but, it's wishful thinking that I don't want to believe that. So, possible, not confirmed, hopefully unlikely? Please? Second speculation. As I've already stated, a lot of people are theorizing, and hopefully a lot of people are afraid that we're going to get a film that is mostly fan service and nostalgia, and, just Warner Brothers is going to take what they know works from the Harry Potter series and just throw a lot of Dumbledore and Harry Potter reference and nostalgia in there just to make it a success, make it a box office hit, but that would not be a good film in my opinion, and, it's Fantastic Beasts. We need to have the Fantastic Beasts characters and not just Dumbledore in there. So, it's speculated that Tina is becoming a background character because we're going to have a lot more Dumbledore and a lot less Fantastic Beasts crew, which is possible. Again, not confirmed, and I'm hoping not true, which is most of this, but yeah. This one's more of a rumor than anything. Rumor based on what I think is probably fact, but, as I said, I looked all over and I could find no evidence that this rumor is real, and that is Catherine Waterston had COVID-19, the big sick, while the film was filming. I did find a couple references that said there was confirmed cases within the Fantastic Beasts cast, and it listed no names, which I think is good. Health is a very private matter, and unless someone desires to share that information, it should not be up to the press to report on it. So, yeah, nowhere have I found confirmation that it was Catherine Waterston who had the diagnosis. It could have been. I think, with journalism, I take, it can be a reputable source, and it can be a reputable source while still twisting the facts a little bit, like little white lies and little tweaks here and there to spark interest. And, so when I hear Fantastic Beasts cast has confirmed COVID-19 cases, what I think is it's possible that it might not actually be cast members, but could be anybody on the cast and or crew. So, yeah, basically more speculation than anything, and not to mention, even if the actress for Tina had been ill with COVID-19 during filming, when you think about it from a filmmaking perspective, even with all the COVID-19 stuff that went on, it makes no sense to completely go back to the drawing board, rewrite the script, find new stuff to fill what that character, you'd have to write more scenes for more characters to replace what that missing actor's character is now going to be gone. You have to rewrite the entire script, which is not an easy process. So, what I'm saying is it basically can't be possible that Tina is not present due to the fact that Catherine Waterston had COVID. It's not plausible. It makes no sense, really. It makes a lot more sense to maybe reprioritize what scenes you're filming, which, you know, is a huge pain in the ass and a huge hassle, but it makes a lot more sense to do that and wait for your actor to get better than to go all the way back to script writing and change everything while this person is getting better. Chances are, by the time you're done rewriting the script and, you know, getting back into actually filming, that person's going to be better. So, and, you know, this is something that all movies faced during the pandemic, so it doesn't make sense, okay? It doesn't make sense. Okay, I've been having a really hard time. There's a bunch of cut footage of me trying to figure out not really how to explain this properly. I can explain it properly. The problem is I have a really hard time talking about sensitive subjects that I haven't lived through myself. I mean, like anxiety, depression, stuff like that. I can talk about confidently because I know what it's like. I've lived through it. But when it comes to things that I haven't experienced myself, it's difficult for me because I almost feel like I don't have a place talking about it because I haven't experienced it. So, like, yeah, I feel like I don't have a place to talk about it. Anyways, what I'm trying to say that isn't coming out is part of the theories going around about what might be affecting the fact that we're not seeing Tina in the trailers or any other promotional material for the movie could be because of the controversy with the tweets that J.K. Rowling posted a while back. I haven't found any original source for this, but several journalist sources have cited Catherine Waterston standing up against J.K. Rowling's point of view. I mean, we don't know any of these people personally, so, like, and you can read a lot into tweets, and she has apologized for it. That doesn't make it okay. I mean, I think it's very good that people have spoken out against her tweets, because I don't think anyone should have enough power to silence people from speaking out about, against what they know is wrong. So, and I'm not going to say what they think is wrong, because in this day and age, we can't say, I mean, I don't care. You can't say that it's okay to be prejudiced against transgender people. You just can't. Anyways, I'm not going to go on a crusade about that. The point is, I can't find any I can't find any sources that is either video or direct from Catherine Waterston speaking out against J.K. Rowling's tweets, but I have found sources writing about that and theorizing that we're not seeing Tina in the film or in the trailers because J.K. Rowling has decided to cut her character because the actress spoke out against her, which I don't think is true. I mean, I guess it could be, but I don't think any rivalry between the two, not rivalry, is that the right word? I don't think it is. Any, like, dispute or confrontation, bad blood between the real life people, I don't think that would seep into affecting the film. I guess it could. I mean, Warner Brothers has proven with Johnny Depp that they are very cautious against confrontation and, what's the word I'm looking for? They're very against scandal, controversy, all of that. which, you know, it's pretty much impossible to get rid of J.K. Rowling where Fantastic Beasts and Harry Potter is involved, and I think it's okay to still enjoy it. I mean, again, I don't know any of these people in real life. None of us really do. I mean, most people don't. I'm sure there are people who know them in real life, but because they're real people. The majority of us can't claim to know everything behind what comes out from these people. I mean, I would like to think that J.K. Rowling is still a good person, and that she was genuine in apologizing, but regardless, I think it's still okay to enjoy the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts series. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent again. I don't see it affecting the film, and I don't think people also theorize that Warner Brothers could be behind Tina's character being cut out of the film because of the controversy, which really doesn't make sense. I mean, when you think about it, if they want to avoid controversy, cutting Catherine Waterston from the films for standing up for transgender rights would be shooting themselves in the foot. So, yeah, and again, I'm just going to state that I fully support transgender rights. I have a hard time talking about it because I myself am not transgender, and I don't know anyone who is transgender, so I don't really feel that I have a place to talk about it, but I do fully support trans rights, and yeah, we're going to talk about some slightly happier things now. Okay, fun stuff. Theories, you know, just straight up fan theories. This has nothing to do with any real world, real time, real people scenarios. This is just purely from a writing, plot, character standpoint, you know, taking from what we've already learned about the franchise and the characters, and, you know, deep diving into little tiny details about the trailer, and probably way overthinking things that are probably not true, could be true, but yeah, this is what I live for. So, fan theories. First theory, I gotta admit, I thought this was ridiculous at first, and then I kind of came around to it, and kind of started thinking, you know, this would be good, but then I started really thinking about it, and thought, and, you know, went back to thinking, this kind of is a little bit ridiculous, but I would be very okay with it being true. Anyways, the theory is probably what most people have heard. Super Carlin Brothers did a video about it. Is Bunty Tina in disguise? Now, the only reason that I wouldn't be okay with this is because I like seeing the original actors for the characters I love portraying the characters throughout, and I wouldn't be very happy if Tina was basically Bunty the entire time. I want to see Catherine Waterston as Tina because that's the Tina I'm used to. But if that's how we're getting the most out of Tina's character in this film, then I'll be very okay with it. But yet again, taking a closer look at it, I'm not so sure that this makes sense, and I'm not so sure that it's probable. Now, the supporting facts for this theory are, one, it would make sense if, you know, on an outside standpoint looking in, it would make sense to other people to see Newt and Bunty being, you know, close together, or maybe a little flirty with each other, and, you know, that would go off without a hitch if it were Tina, because, you know, Newt and Tina are kind of flirty together, even though their version of flirting and romantic connection is very not typical, as we saw with the salamander eyes scene, even though I absolutely adore the salamander eyes scene, and I love everything about this couple. They're not very typical, whereas Bunty is pretty typical in her pursuits of Newt. I mean, it makes sense that people would have that in the supporting theory facts, but at the same time it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because, you know, they'd have to think about that and put that into their plan, but Newt is completely 100% oblivious to Bunty's feelings about him. I mean, I suppose you could say someone would tell him about it, and then they'd concoct a plan about making it look natural with Tina being Bunty, but, I mean, yeah, he's just completely 100% oblivious. I mean, we saw it with the scene, you know, Newt's about to go in with the Kelpie, and Bunty's like, maybe you should take off your shirt, and Newt's just like, you know, I'll be fine. Bunty could walk out in full modern lingerie, and it would still fly right over Newt's head.
He has no idea.
Second supporting for this theory is Tina being in disguise would enable her to get closer to Grindelwald, which, you know, does make sense, because, you know, Grindelwald, when he was in disguise as Percival Graves at MACUSA, you know, he greatly underestimated Tina, and then she pulled one over on him, you know, so Tina can't just walk right up, can't get close to Grindelwald without him being like, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, I'm gonna kill you. So I suppose it does make sense, but what doesn't make sense is why then Newt is not in a disguise, because I feel like Grindelwald would probably be a little more wary of Newt than Tina. Connecting with that part of the theory is also that Tina is in disguise to get closer to Grindelwald and Queenie, which makes zero sense when you think about it, because despite the fact that Queenie has gone kind of dark and is probably in a very not well state of mind mentally, and you know, we also have sort of debates on how reliable Queenie's legitimacy is. You can't convince me that a disguise would stop Queenie from realizing that Tina was Tina based on her thoughts. I mean, we see in Fantastic Beasts that Queenie can hear Tina's thoughts. Now, granted, the thought she was hearing was Tina knowing she was about to die, which I think would probably make the thoughts more intense, or maybe louder or clearer, more easy for Queenie to detect. But either way, we see Queenie hear Tina's thoughts straight through into the bowels of the entire great big MACUSA complex. She is very in tune to Tina because of how close they were, and I don't think that you can just because Queenie has had a change of heart, change of mind, is in a bad place, I don't think she could just sever that connection so easily. Okay, so now for why this theory really doesn't make sense. I mean, I suppose it could be, but if Bunty is Tina in disguise, there's a lot of nonsensibility, plot hole stuff going on. Main reason being, polyjuice and any other form of magical disguise other than, you know, stuff like Animagus and Metamorph Magus, which is born, you can't become a Metamorph Magus. Any other form of magical disguise that everyone can use that we've seen does not alter your voice. So, excuse me, miss. Stop biting my ankles. Rat face. anything cuter than a niffler. Okay, where was I? Yeah, any other form of magical disguise that is accessible to everyone does not alter your voice. And in the trailers, we hear Bunty speaking in Bunty's voice. So, I guess you could argue that maybe Tina is good at impressions? Or that this is a new form of magical disguise that we haven't seen yet, or maybe it is polyjuice, and there's some other magical thing that can alter your voice. I don't know, but that to me is a big red flag that this theory is not possible. Okay, and secondly, what we saw in the first trailer, Theseus is talking about how, this is your big plan, this is a team that's going to save the world, and he lists everyone, and he lists Bunty, which in this case would be Tina, as, Newt's indisposable assistant, which, if this were Bunty in disguise, why wouldn't Theseus know about this? That just really doesn't make sense to me. Unless Theseus is so sore about Tina strapping him to a chair in the last movie that he wants nothing to do with her, so Newt's like, we gotta hide you because Theseus hates your guts, which that's just completely a joke. I don't think that's possible, but, yeah, that's another big red flag to me. That doesn't make sense. And because this is what I live for, and I love looking at every teeny tiny little detail, and, probably making mountains out of molehills, but this still, to me, does add some credibility to me not believing this theory, is Bunty, what we see of her, what we know about, Bunty, real Bunty from the previous film, and what we've seen in the trailers so far, her mannerisms, the way she moves, this looks like Bunty and not Tina as Bunty. Granted that Tina is a very good author and would probably try to copy Bunty's mannerisms and all that to make it more believable, it's still, I think this is actually Bunty and not Tina. The way she walks, we see a scene where she walks across the street. Tina has a very signature, powerful walk. Well, she does when she's confident, not in the beginning of Fantastic Beasts, where she's, slinking in to talk to to President Pickery, and, just all...
Yes, ma'am.
Poor thing. Yeah, and then there's a scene in the Japanese trailer where you see Bunty kind of pop up from beneath the counter. Now, you could say that that's a callback to when Tina pops up from beneath the desk when she's trying to hide from Abernathy, but I think that's more, I don't think Tina would, and it's a weird place, from what I see, there's no reason that Tina would be doing that again, and that seems like a very Bunty-ish behavior. This just sounds like I'm shitting all over Bunty, but, I kind of am, but at the same time, I have a point. Someone did make a point that the scene where, in the trailer that we hear Bunty say, no one can know everything, not even you, to Newt, doesn't seem very Bunty-ish, and seems a lot more Tina, which I agree with, but at the same time, to me there's more evidence to disprove this than to prove it. And we also see a little snapshot of Bunty with the slightly older baby nifflers on her shoulder, which I'm not saying that Tina wouldn't interact with the baby nifflers, but I feel like that's more likely to be Bunty than Tina, because we know that Bunty takes care of baby nifflers, even if she lets them get out. I don't hate spotlight when Tina deserves it more. I'm bitter, I'll admit it. Alright, second most popular theory, which I personally hate, because I don't want it, which is a lot of this video, but I can't discount it, and I can't discount the fact that it has some probability to it, and I'd really hate to say it, but I feel like this one probably has more credibility than the previous one, which would be for me, would be a preferable situation. The theory that Tina is not being seen because she is back in New York, working for Makuza, possibly on her own mission, and we don't see her because she's just going to be in New York the whole time, and we're not going to see her, except for, like, if she checks in every now and then, which I do not want. I'm fine if Tina is out on her own mission. That's very credible. Tina would totally do that, and she has before. But if she's doing that, I want to see that. I want to be, going back and forth, what's Newt doing? What's Tina doing? Maybe another couple of people. What's Dumbledore doing? And, you keep going back and forth. I don't want it to be like, here's what Newt and Dumbledore are doing. Tina, well, we're not going to see what Tina's doing, but she's in New York. Don't worry about her. Really don't want that. Supporting to this theory is... before, I didn't think there was really any evidence for this other than the fact that we're not seeing Tina, but then we see in the Japanese trailer that picture that Newt has in his case of Tina has the Makuza logo, Makuza stamp, coat of arms, whatever, on it. I suppose it could be an older photo, but I don't know. For a while, I was convinced that Tina had left Makuza, or at least had gone MIA for a while, because the French ministry did not know that she was there. We see that in the scene where Queenie goes to look for her, and the woman behind the desk says, there is no Tina Goldstein here. So either Makuza is being shady and sent Tina there without notifying the French ministry, which I think is not okay in wizarding law. I could be wrong, but, we see when Britain's orders go to France, they know, the French ministry knows they're there, and we see them in there. So why doesn't the French ministry know that Tina's there? Before this, I was going to say that Tina just straight up abandoned Makuza and was on her own credence mission. Now I'm not so sure. And I also think that maybe, possibly, this could be an interactive portrait. Like, in the original series, there's portraits of dead people that can communicate and hop from portrait to portrait. Technically, we haven't seen that with living people, but we did see in the last film Eulalie Hicks, who is getting a much bigger role in this film, and because I'm bitter, I'm going to be mad at her too, because it seems like she has a bigger role than Tina, and I don't like it. But it has nothing to do with the character or the actress, it's just me being bitter. But in the last film, we saw Eulalie Hicks communicate with Nicholas Flamel through a picture in a book in real time, without being dead. So, I kind of have a little bit of a thought / theory that maybe the picture in Newt's case could be Tina communicating with him in real life, in real time. She is kind of looking at him from the case, and the way that Newt has the case turned around, is like he's trying to show her to people, like you would do with like a laptop if you were on Skype or Zoom. I mean, this movie is about war and all kind of bad things, so it doesn't make sense that has a really big smile, but at the same time it could be because she's happy to see Newt again, and she's happy to see Jacob, which, this takes place on the train, so I'm assuming he would be trying to show Jacob. I don't know, again, this is, like, extremely looking really far into things that don't necessarily mean anything, but that's where my mind went. I will definitely be severely pissed if that's the only form of Tina we see. Okay, this theory I've only heard once or twice, and I'm including it because I find it interesting. I don't know how likely it is, but I found it interesting when I heard it. And that is that the possibility Tina could have gotten kidnapped by someone. In the theory that I heard, it was specifically Grindelwald. Now we know that Tina has no scenes with Grindelwald, but we know that Grindelwald has Nurmengard, which he uses as a wizard in prison. So, Grindelwald is not the type of person who's going to be tending to his prisoners every day, so it is possible that he or his goons have kidnapped Tina, and she's now being held as prisoner in his fancy wizard jail, and the reason they have no scenes together is because Grindelwald is doing more important things. Well, to him, important. We actually know that they're not important, the right word is evil, but you get what I mean. I don't know how plausible it is. I don't want to see Tina get kidnapped, especially since she was already technically kidnapped by use of comma. I mean, if that is true and we see Tina on the inside of the jail trying to fight her way out and just not putting up with any of the crap that the jailers are inevitably handing her, I would be okay with this theory if we get to see Tina adequately portrayed in a, if we see a lot of her, and as long as she's not being portrayed as a damsel in distress, because she's not, I don't think this theory is probably one of the theories of the fan theories that I think is on the low end of possibility, but it's out there. Okay, and last theory, which is a theory that I would definitely be okay with, and I saved it for last because I want to go out on a high note, is that we aren't seeing Tina because she's not in the fight, because she can't be, because she's pregnant, obviously with Newt's baby. Now, of course, we haven't seen them get together yet. There is a time jump, so that would allow for them to, get together and possibly get married. We all know that you don't have to get married to have a baby, even though that's probably the norm in this time period. I would be upset if we didn't see them initially getting together, getting married, or their first kiss. I mean, maybe they could, in the present she's pregnant, but they could do a little flashback to when they first got together. I don't know, but I would definitely be a lot more okay with not seeing them first get together and have her be pregnant and have them be together and see Tina in an adequate amount in the movie than to have her just be in New York and not featured barely at all. And of course, I love Newt and Tina together and fangirly moments and fangirly feels, so obviously that would be okay with me. Anyways, where's my Niffler? I need my Niffler. There he is, there's my Niffler. Alright, well, I'll be waiting on pins and needles, and if we don't see enough of Tina in this film, and she is, barely there, Warner Bros., you have some shit to explain, okay? Okay? It's not okay. You said that you were gonna make this movie better by taking the lead female out. That's worked in cinema history never. You kind of shot yourselves in the foot, assuming that the worst happens.
Okay, fine. I'm cool. I'm fine.
But if, fingers crossed the worst doesn't happen and one of the more favorable scenarios is happening and we will see enough of Tina. Yeah, well, if I don't stop talking about, I could talk about this forever, and if I don't stop talking, I probably never will. Yeah, that's all. If you'd like to talk about anything further, I am always up for talking about Fantastic Beasts, Harry Potter. Thanks for giving me an outlet to drone on endlessly about Fantastic Beasts, because my family is tired of hearing of it. Alright, let's hope for the best, mentally prepare for the worst. Bye.
Where have you been?
What?